When you're living off grid, the one thing you don't want to do is trust the weatherman or the radar. Got up at 5 o'clock this morning, and the first thing I did was check the radar because I thought it was supposed to rain overnight, but it didn't. So I checked the radar, and it had a rain cloud above me and below me, so north and south. But we weren't supposed to get any rain according to the radar, and the weather app said we weren't going to get any rain. So I came down and started the generator because I knew it was going to be cloudy, and I wanted to get enough energy so I can make it to 9 o'clock. So I just wanted to run it for about a half hour. But I left the chickens in the coop because the night before last, something got into the chicken run and ate the chicken food. So I was going to trap it, so I had the trap in there. So it was still dark at 5 o'clock, so I left the chickens in there. Well, at 5:30, I came down to shut off the generator and open the chicken coop. Well, it was still really cloudy and really dark, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it another half hour before I do anything. I mean, we don't run that generator hardly at all, and I just wanted to make sure that I can make it to 9 o'clock. Because at 9 o'clock, the sun kind of comes over the trees, and even on cloudy days, I can start to get some electric out of it. So you can see now the sun's coming up. It's 11 o'clock. So much better than it was, but I just needed to get, you know, enough energy to make sure that I didn't get the batteries below 12.3 volts. Well, at 5:55, the wind hit. Now, I was thinking, well, the wind's probably picking up because there are clouds above us and clouds below us, and the lightning was just constant lightning. And within a few seconds after the wind picked up, it just downpoured. I mean, buckets. I couldn't even see the wood pile from the house. So I thought, well, wonder what I'm going to do. So I went ahead and just let everything run for, I don't know, maybe another 20 minutes before I figured out what I wanted to do. So I figured I'd just put on my heavy coat. I have a rain poncho and it hangs on the porch, but wasps like to make nests in that. So I'm not always in a big hurry to put that on. But when I came out on the porch, I realized I was going to have to do something because that coat wasn't going to hold back the water. It was like a sheet of water. So I checked the poncho to make sure it didn't have any wasp nests on, put it on. I figured, well, I have my coat on, so if I do get stung, they'll just sting the coat. It won't be too bad. Then I came on down here. Well, the water was rushing down the hill. And I know that the hill is, you can't really judge too well on the camera, but this is a huge hill. And so this is the path that we take to go down the hill to feed the chickens and go back up. The water was running down this so fast that the back of my shoe, I have waterproof shoes, the water was coming up and hitting the back of my shoe, and I was worried it was going to get inside. Well, eventually it did. That's how fast that water was running and down. So I came down here, and then I realized that the tarp on the chicken run had collected water. The water was running down so fast that it pushed the tarp down. Instead of just water running off of it, it kind of made a cavern and knocked the whole thing down. So I'm down here repairing that in this monsoon that we were having. I don't even know if a monsoon produces that much water. It was a lot of water. Got that repaired, let the chickens out, shut off the generator. Ran it a lot longer than I wanted to, but that little generator just sips gas. That's the nice thing about that little generator is when you make mistakes, it doesn't really cost you that much. Well, then at 9:30, I thought I'd run the well. Now, I've told you in the past, the well can get dirty. On these heavy rains, these flooding rains, and this was terribly flooding, the water will go down into the well casing on the side of it. I've done a lot of things to repair it, and I've showed you all the things I've done. You can go to my channel and you can see all the things that I've done, but I've concreted the floor, I put a well packer in there, and then I ran this well liner down it, so that holds the water back from going down into the well. And then I put this house around it, and I made the roof hang over 2 feet in every direction. It helped a little, but not a lot. Now, I've told you that I've put a French drain right here, right next to it, about 2 feet out. It comes right to the edge of the roof there. And the French drain is a pipe with holes in it, 4-inch pipe. Well, it's actually that pipe is what it is. So it has holes in it that I drilled in it. and the water goes down into the ditch. It's just a ditch. You put the pipe in the ditch and then you fill it up with gravel. But the water would accumulate inside that gravel, and instead of running off in a big hurry, it just kind of sat there and trickled off, I guess is the best thing I can figure, because this spot right here would always get wet, and I knew that if this was wet, the well was going to be dirty. So I've struggled with this. Now what I usually do is I can flush out the well. The thing is, I got to wait 3 days. That way all the water has a chance to get down there. Then I flush it out. And the way I flush it out is I start the well up. I open it all the way up because I got a little knob up there. I just open that all the way up. It's 15 gallon a minute pump, and the well recovery rate is 5 gallons a minute. So within 15-20 minutes, the well is empty. Well, I got to do that 3 times, so I wait 20 minutes, half hour, flush it out again, wait again, and then flush it out a 3rd time. But I got to wait 3 days. That's the biggest problem. Well, in these big rain events, when we're having rain every day like this, especially in the spring, it may be a week or 2 before I can get water out of the well because you got to wait. So I fill the IBC tank. So I have 200 gallons, well, 275 gallons that I can use while I'm waiting, but it was just always such a frustration. And Carolyn absolutely hated this. She does not like wasting water. As a matter of fact, in this last July, we had a drought. I think it was even a state of emergency issued by the governor. And so she didn't want to run the well at all. Well, there's other ways it can make it dirty. Is in July, the pump fell down. When the pump falls down, it gets down to the bottom of the well and it can pump up all that dirty water. So I was flushing it out then, and she said, hey, let's not do that. Just wait 3 days, let it settle down and see if it's dirty in 3 days. And sometimes that'll happen, is that dirt will just settle back down. You can see that in a bucket. If you get dirty water in a bucket, you wait a day or 2 and you put your finger across the bottom of it and it just streaks. Then you know it's settled to the bottom. Well, we did that, so that way we didn't waste any water. She was very satisfied with it. But we've just had some torrential rains. Now, I feel like we are right on the edge of a jet stream. I don't know anything about weather, but that's what I feel like. And so we keep getting clipped by these rain events. They'll last an hour and move on. Now tomorrow it's supposed to rain all day, but a few days ago it was supposed to do that too, and it didn't. It rained a couple hours and that was it. It was cloudy all day. See, the sun's starting to pop up. I told you this in yesterday's video, that it seems to me every day the sun comes out just long enough so I can get the batteries charged back up, since I redid the solar panels. This is a perfect example. If I can get this to do this for 2 or 3 hours throughout today, we'll have enough electric to get through the night. So it's pretty amazing how this has been panning out since I've improved the solar panels. Well, over the summer, I've been watching the flow, because in the spring, let me back up for a minute. In the springtime, we got the ditch by the road, and it's a big ditch. As a matter of fact, there was a girl earlier this year, probably right at the transition of winter and spring. The girl ran off the road and went down into the ditch. She nearly hit my truck. Flew over the driveway, ran on down, knocked her oil pan off. I would imagine she pretty much totaled her car. It didn't look damaged, but I'm sure underneath was just completely done. It's a huge ditch, and I'm surprised she didn't flip over when she came down. Well, that fills up with leaves. It's such a big ditch, and nobody maintains the ditch up on the hill. I mean, it's just wooded areas, so they don't maintain no ditch. So the first big rain in the spring, there's a culvert up there on the hill. It clogs up with leaves. Well, when that culvert breaks loose, all that water and the leaves, everything, pile up and run down to my culvert and clogs up my culvert. And when it does that, just a big wave of water comes rushing right to this well. And there's not anything I can do to stop it. Well, this spring, before the big rain, I guess early winter, I raked all that out. So I didn't have that problem. But on these rain events, these crazy rain events that we're having, where it's just a sheet of water for about an hour, I'm having the same problem that I'm having as when the culvert clogs up. All that water just comes rushing down just in a big wave. So I dug a ditch. right here. And I hate that I did it because, I don't know, I just wish I didn't have to. I tested this several times and the water comes down and rushes on down. It's working out perfectly. Well, this morning when I came down, remember I came down to fix the chicken cage, I noticed that water was hitting this so hard that it was coming up and some of it was running over. Not all of it, but some of it. I figured the French drain was probably catching it, and I showed you that the spot over there was still dry. That's the most important spot. I came over here and I just used my boot to knock some of that dirt back up over here, and I grabbed the shovel and I tried to make this a little wider, and the water stopped flopping over the back edge. So I built that up a little bit higher. It has really made a big difference. Since I put this ditch in, we have not had dirty water, other than the time that well pump dropped down, which that happens. I've actually had commenters ask me about that. If your well is too close to the bottom, it'll suck up that dirt. It's got to be like 7 feet above the bottom. So this, I think, has resolved my problem. Now, I'm still concerned about these week-long rains that you get in the spring. It just rains all week. I don't know this will solve my problem because I'm not getting runoff then. It's just so saturating that it gets down in there and it just kind of clogs up the French drain, or moisturizes or dampens the French drain. So in between the French drain and the wall of the well, if that gets wet, then I know that the well is dirty. It's just guaranteed. But we just haven't had that issue. We have not had these week-long rains. We keep having these gully washers. So the thing is about this, it diverts so much water that it flooded our path. So water was just shooting up. I mean, it was a massive amount of water. I think this summer is a little different than normal. I think this summer we've just had more rain, gushing rain than usual. In all honesty, as far as I'm concerned with the well, I'd rather have these gully washers for an hour a day than a week-long rain. I just don't know if that we can keep the well clean with that kind of rain. And the reason is, you got to think the well is 100 feet deep. And so now you need to think of your property as like a lake. Water will seep into your well down to 100 feet. So since we're on such a big hill and the well is on top of the hill, when we come down to the valley here, down by our creek bed, that's not even close to being 100 feet deep. And all this is just slushy, sloshy wet. So it becomes a river and it just kind of, or lake, and I think it kind of just goes right into the well. Newer wells are not prone to this kind of behavior. Newer wells has the well casing going all the way down to bedrock, down to, not bedrock, but the bedrock water. So if you drill, our bedrock water is about 70 feet, but our well casing only goes down about 15 or 20 feet. So that means everything below 15 or 20 feet, if water seeps down into that, it can get it dirty. At least that's my theory. I don't know how true that is, but that's my theory. So I don't think we're going to run into this problem this year. We keep getting these gully washers, and it's just it's a different summer than it has been for the last 2 summers we've been here. It's just not that saturating rain. It's just gully washers, and it's worked out pretty well so far. And I'm very happy that we've resolved the problem. The other thing is we're running the well off solar panels now. In the past, I would have to flush this out with the generator. And of course, we're using propane to run that. We have that dual fuel generator. So we'd have to run propane. But I filled up the tank this morning, filled these buckets up so Carolyn could do laundry, and it was perfectly clean. There's just some things that I even asked Carolyn if she thought I was stupid for not having resolved this problem sooner. I kept thinking the French drain should have taken care of it. But the French drain was, I guess, part of the problem. And I asked her if she thought I was stupid. She said, no, you just gotta take time. It takes time to resolve these issues, especially when you've never done it before. So when you're living your dream, don't give up on the first shot and say, well, I'm gonna have to go buy something new. Just keep working at it, keep fixing the problems, keep thinking about it. I don't have $500 invested in that well, so it's been a pretty cheap well. If I'd had to dig a new one, we'd have been at least $5,000, which is the price that we would have paid for the property. Property was $4,200. So if you click this up next box, take you to a video where I was talking about planning ahead to make your life easier, so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.